Hello, welcome back to the RC Pilot's Log. Merry Christmas to everyone who's celebrating, and I hope everyone has great plans to bring in the new year. My name's Rob, and this is going to be part 6 of my Aerotetris CASA C101 project. It's been several months since I last did part 5, and in this episode I'm looking at my new JP Hobby electric braked retracts, and I'm going to install the nose gear. So this is the nose sections, and I've already started some work on cutting out for the nose wheel. I'm going to put that aside for the moment and take a look at some of the new hardware I've got. I have a Dubro pull system for the nose steering, and the retracts and controllers are all here. And these JP Hobby retracts, they're fantastic quality. They're not the cheapest, but they are full aluminium construction and very nice quality. And I've got the braked versions. My flying field is rather rough and a short patch. After setting up the JP Hobby retracts on my new FlySky Palladian PL18, which I won on their recent prize draw, I was keen to give them a quick test. I've already started excavating a cavity for the nose gear. Back when I was gluing the nose pieces together, I stuck the negative sections of the nose inside to give me something solid to mount to. I made a mount for the gear from 1/2 inch square balsa and 3mm ply, to which the retract base is screwed. It's a nice snug fit in the nose and should provide a strong mounting point. Before I make anything permanent, I need to fully assemble the nose and work out the spacing and access. So it's time to glue the nose onto the front of the fuselage. The nose wheel doesn't quite clear, so I need to remove some more foam. I chose to take out a full width of the section, but I could have just removed a small portion. After a little fettling and tidying up the nose gear cavity, I decided to start work on the gear doors. I want to have the doors flush with the fuse and no visible hinges. After many sketches, a couple of hours and 2 failed attempts at making what I wanted, I decided it would be better to finish the gear install before attempting the doors and door mechanism. The mounting block is glued in with expanding Gorilla Glue, as I felt it would give the best fixing between the porous wood and the rough foam. Applied liberally to the joining surfaces and once in place, around the edges for good measure. While the glue cures, there's time to think about the steering servo and how to mount it. Initially I thought of using a 9g servo and so began playing with how to mount it, but I soon realised a cheap 9g servo like this one was just going to be underpowered and most likely fail. So although nose gear steering is not flight critical, I chose to use one of my Gotek high torque servos. It may be overkill, but I like the idea of a fit and forget solution. I had a few ideas about where to mount it, including right beneath the gear, but I need to consider the pull-pull cable system and the space it needs to articulate and flex. I settled on a location slightly further rearward to give me ample room, and allow me to install the servo in such a way that it can be removed easily for future maintenance. Another opening was made for the purpose, the idea being that the servo can be mounted to a removable plate which screws onto a structure inside the opening. I cut two 3-inch lengths of 1/2-inch square balsa and glued them to the inside with a 1/4 inch overlap into the opening, then pinned them in place to dry. Offering up the servo identified that the internal braces needed to be horizontally aligned so that the servo mounts could pass through, so they were quickly removed and repositioned. Back to the servo mount, some 1/4 inch ply stock was used to construct a box around the servo. Keeping in mind that I may need to remove it in the future, I tried to allow enough space for the servo to be extracted before the box was assembled with 5-minute epoxy. The finished structure looks quite robust and certainly won't be the weakest part of the setup. It may however be over-engineered, aka heavy. With the Gorilla Glue now nicely cured, the nose gear is reinstalled and the servo box and mount can be tested. It's a good fit, and once held in with some temporary screws feels solid. The foam is obviously still weak and flexes when pushed, but in the end when it's glassed should be nice and strong. The servo box sits recessed into the foam and I want it flush, so 2 strips of 3mm ply are cut and glued in place. While that glue sets, I can't resist a play with the retracts. Next, I need to set up the Dubro pull-pull system. The kit contains all you need. 2 of the linkage ends were attached to the servo arm, and the nose gear comes with suitable linkage pre-installed. This is the first time I've installed a cable system, so I found it a little bit fiddly, but mainly due to my caveman style hands rather than a complicated process. The supplied cable is fed through a crush tube and then through the linkage end, and then back through the tube. The end is then looped back up and through the tube once more. Once crimped, there should be 3 passes of cable clamped in the tube. After crimping, some heat shrink covers it all. After reinstalling the servo and spending far too long fiddling around with the cable setup, I powered up the servo and found that my cable lengths were off, meaning the nose wheel was not centred. Even full trim wouldn't centre it. I should have turned off at this point and reworked the cables, but instead I chose to test the throw, resulting in pulling out one of the undersized servo plate screws. After quite a lot more adjustments and some larger screws, I finally had the system set up well, ready for a full motion test. I'm very satisfied with that. I may need to remove some more foam to allow the linkage ends to move further when the gear is up, or find a way to pull them clear, but other than that, the job's a good one. Thanks for watching, happy flying and happy new year.